Hey guys, today we'll be talking with John from electriccopy.tech. John is an experienced copywriter who's written for the likes of Microsoft, Sony, Philips, Braun, and many other brands, and we'll be talking about features versus benefits. When should you write about features? When should you write about benefits? And we'll also be diving into some very interesting examples. So when you're ready, let's dive in. So I guess the first question would be, how do you define features? How do you define benefits?
A feature is an aspect of your product that does something, and a benefit is what the actual user gets out of it. What does it do to improve their life or help them do something? And we've got a classic example in front of us here, which is the original iPod ad. So if we break this down into features and benefits, basically the iPod is a hard drive that you can carry around with you, and there's got a built-in screen and an audio out. But I think if they'd sold it in that way, you'd really be selling the object rather than the experience, and it wouldn't be very compelling. So what they've done instead is to describe the benefit, which is that basically you can carry your whole music collection around you. It's so much more compelling than saying, hey, this is a 5 gigabyte hard drive with a screen built in.
Right, and they're using 1,000 songs. Back in the early 2000s, this was a pretty big deal, and it kind of proves that even when you're leading with a benefit, you don't have to exclude numbers, right?
Right. In fact, it's a great way to help the audience understand the power or the gravity of what you're offering.
Why don't we actually head over to your blog and we can kind of just scroll down and review some of the examples you have and just kind of dive into more detail.
Sure. This is an interesting one because the general philosophy with copywriting is to lead with the benefit. So always talk about what the user gets out of it and how it's going to make their experience better or make their life better. But with this particular page, it really does focus on the feature, which is the OLED 8K capability.
So in this case, I guess what LG is trying to do is to give you bragging rights, right? Like the people who are going to buy this $30,000 TV, you're going to want to have the best of the best. And one way to brag about your TV is to say, I have OLED, I have the world's first 8K TV.
Exactly. It's about having something that no one else has got. And let's face it, there are a million different TVs out there. So this is really about differentiating this product. Also, it's about knowing the audience, because LG knows that there are people out there who really, really just want, the latest, greatest thing.
Right, it's the first adopters. And actually, we can kind of segue into the next product, Oculus.
Yeah, so this is, at the time I wrote the blog, this is their headline. And it's interesting because it really does focus on like the defining feature of this VR headset, which is that it's the first to offer really high quality virtual reality without any wires. So I'm guessing at the time that was a really kind of breakthrough product for them. But since then, they've actually changed it. So now their current headline is really, really benefit focused. Even if you have no idea about the context of virtual reality and you don't give a shit about wires, this is really going to speak to you.
But yeah, like the original ad, it's almost speaking to the first adopters, the people who shelled out like $800 or $700 or whatever for a wired headset and had the gaming PC to boot. Now they're kind of like targeting anyone who wants to have a good time.
So it might be that a change in the market or a change in who they're trying to reach is actually repositioning the way that they talk about the product, and that's why they're now focusing on the benefit rather than the feature, because it might have wider appeal.
Right. So it just goes back to the audience. Know your audience,
Yeah,
and then write your copy.
exactly. And we can go back to the example of the TV. I dug out another example here. If we compare this to the OLED 8K TV landing page, here we've got another TV that's not quite so fancy, but still a pretty high-end TV. And here they're much more focused on the benefit.
Right. Right. And even though they have some technical stuff a little bit below, right? They talk about a quad core processor or something. They're leading with quality you can see in every scene.
Right, because the feature here is not the defining thing about this TV in the same way it is for the 8K TV. And it's again, we're probably talking about it being aimed at a different audience who they still want a very good TV, but they don't necessarily want the best thing out there. And this is another example of where it's good to focus on the features, because I mean, in this example, like any kind of IT tech person who's dealing with this, you know, they know what this kind of thing does, right? So you don't need to tell them that it's going to help you effectively manage and deploy your storage capacity. What they're really going to be looking for is something that's got the exact capability, like technical capabilities that they need. Again, when we look at websites and we look at kind of the way people use them, there's a lot of scanning, and people don't necessarily like look at every part of the page. They're just going to have a quick look through and go, you know, does this have what I want or not? And in this kind of situation where you know people are looking for really specific technical capabilities, this is when it's great to have these subheadings that just lead with a feature. So now when we're looking at what is essentially like a software product, Spotify, then you get into much more like blurry territory where actually the features are the benefits. We can look at YouTube's premium service, and here they're really, really highlighting the features of their service. So they could be talking about the wider experience of what it's like to watch videos on YouTube. But what they're really trying to do is call out the difference between, you know, using their premium service and just using the normal YouTube. So this is where it's all about the features and the sort of minutiae of what makes this service different.
Right, and we could see this in Spotify as well, right?
And they could be talking about Spotify in terms of like, enjoy whatever music you like, and look, or they could be talking about it in terms of, you know, enjoy music, enjoy the biggest music collection anywhere, or, you know,
Right.
check out the latest artists. But here they're really talking about the features, because this really differentiates the premium service from their kind of regular service.
It's almost like the user is so familiar with the benefits. Like everybody knows about Spotify, everybody knows about YouTube. You just have to list these features / benefits, and it's already enough to sell the product. So again, it just ties into that trifecta of know your audience, then follow copy guidelines to make sure you have quality copy for that audience, and then just test your hypothesis to make sure your assumptions are correct.
Absolutely, yeah. And leading with features over benefits, or leading with benefits over features, is a pretty strong difference. And I know some people have tested, you know, headlines that are feature-led or headlines that are benefit-led in the past, and actually managed to get a conversion lift out of that. So it's something you can definitely think about optimizing on your website.
So thanks for joining John and I today as we explored features versus benefits. I hope you have a better understanding of both. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. I will link this blog in the description. Hit subscribe, and until next time. So thanks for joining me today, John.
Thanks for having me.